Okay. Hi all. My name is Kishore Shankar Narayan, and welcome to the webinar on email etiquettes and marketing. Now, this webinar has been organized by Alma Mater, and you can see all the links on the screen now. You can contact us on Facebook, right? There are a couple of pages which we have on Facebook. One is for the company, one is for especially for the courses that we run, right? Alma Mater India is based for the company, where like some more details about the company comes in, and Alma Mater Sparks page is specifically to introduction of courses and other updates that we have. We are also there on Instagram. Alma Mater Sparks is the ID for Instagram, and you want to check our post reels, right? All those are available on Instagram. And of course, like you can always chat with us out there and ask your queries and questions, and we should be able to reply you there on that part as well. We're also there on LinkedIn. In case like you want to have any queries out there, and obviously we are all this webinars, all the different courses that are free, that are all uploaded on YouTube. You can visit our channel, and you just need to search for Alma Mater Sparks on YouTube, and you should be able to hit our channel. And yeah, of course, like with all this social media channel, we would request you to like, share, subscribe, and enjoy all the videos, and happy learning to everybody on that part. Moreover, we are, if you go on Google Play, right, AMSPARKS is the the search that you need to do for our application through which you can do learning. If you're a teacher, you can chat with your students once you're registered with us, right? If you're a student, you can chat with specific teachers to know more about the courses, or maybe like if you're enrolled in a course and then like you want to discuss things, everything is available on AMSPARKS as a application. Now, with all this, like our web presence is, right, there are a couple of websites that we have. One is amsparks.com, where all the courses are updated regularly, whether you are an individual or an institute. For everybody, there are courses that are available. You can go check that up on amsparks.com. And almamater.co.in is the company's main website, where, right? So as I told in the beginning, like Alma Mater is the one who has organized this webinar. Now, anybody who is going to watch the recording, right, we request you to, right, do like, share, and subscribe our channel on YouTube. And any queries, anytime you have, all the social media pages are available, right? You can just let us know whatever is your. And if you prefer emails, like today, what we are doing, the simplest email that you can reply to or ask query is info@amsparks.com or info@almamater.co.in, right? In either of the emails, right, we will be replying you, and based on your query, right, different departments can just get access to you. So just to give a brief introduction of the company, right, the company's name is Alma Mater, and Alma Mater was formed in the year 2004. Initially, we just started with a training company for corporates, where we used to conduct a seminar, which was included as a recruitment seminar and a training seminar. So we used to recruit people for companies, and then once they are recruited through the seminar, they used to be trained thoroughly. It's like a boot camp, live done, and then deployed to the particular company. We over the period of time, like we extended our services from training, recruitment. We also formed a KPO wherein we used to do the backend activities for different companies. Mostly the backend activities consists of the accounting and other bookkeeping activities that we have. Now, this incredible success which we had over the past so many years, primarily so because we have already trained over 500,000 individuals across different companies. If you go to our website and if you go to all different pages, you will know about what we have achieved so far. And if you go to the gallery, you would see a lot of companies, a lot of people who have been trained, be it eight standard students of schools, or companies employee, or individuals who are running their own companies, who want coaching, mentoring. All these aspects are covered in Alma Mater. So as I told you earlier, this incredible success inspired us to do something more than, and because COVID had hit us and there were a lot of issues being faced by the educational industry, what we did is we enhanced our support program called as Sparks. This support program aimed at raising knowledge and skills. So initially in 5 years back, when we had just thought about this idea that, okay, there should be a support system online as well. What we did is in the last couple of years, we have enhanced the system and we have converted this into an online platform for every teacher and students to have their learning and teaching comfortably. And we are constantly trying to improvise on this support system. So if you are a part of it already, great. If you're not, you're always welcome. And you're always welcome to provide us the suggestions like how we can improve further, because we understand that it's going to be a constant improvement of all these activities that needs to be taken care when it comes to education. So Sparks is currently focused on developing a hybrid system where people can learn online. At the same time, they can learn offline through different teachers, or whether it is having simplest of tuitions to be taken care of, or if you are considering something else like a classroom training for an entire batch, we have it all. For institutes, we have 4-dimensional workshops where 50+ behavioral activity trainings are conducted over the period of the full year. And from there, we take it ahead. And for individuals, we have regular webinars that are conducted on various topics. These webinars more likely are conducted every week. Some of the weeks we just take a break, but otherwise, every week, once or twice, these webinars are conducted on different activities. So if you visit our website, at the footer, you can go and click on the webinars. You'll always have all the details of all the webinars that are being conducted, that has already been conducted, and the future webinars. Whenever it's going to be immediate, we'll start updating. So if you visit us regularly, you would know that which is the next webinar that is going to happen. You can visit us. Institutes can visit us on the 4-dimensional program link, Others, and there are, if you're looking for internship programs, all available. So please go visit our website to know more about, and go ahead. Coming back to today, what we are going to do is we are going to discuss about email etiquettes. So have you heard about this statement is the question? Because we are going to talk about email. Has anybody heard about this statement? You don't exist if you don't have an email. Anybody? Yes, no?
No, sir.
No? Okay. So this was one of the a famous line told, right? When people believed, right, there used to be, right, people, if you don't have emails, like that means nothing is happening in your life. There were some section of people who believe that. Even today, there are people who believe that. So just to ensure that, okay, you understand the statement properly, let me give you a small story. Now, this story is about a jobless man, right? Email, obviously, because we are talking about emails today, right? And tomatoes, right? When you're talking about all these three together, it's a great combination, right? And it is one, it's highly motivating, and it gives a lot of lessons to us to understand that what we need to do, what we don't need to do. So let's start with, so there was a jobless man who was like, like homeless, jobless, whatever you want to call, but then he was always looking for something like, okay, give me a job, right? You give me a job, and from there, right, you start hunting. Like if you have I want to earn money. I want to go see what it is. So what I'll do is I'll just keep on asking for, like, job hunting. Like most of us, right, at one stage of our life, we do a lot of job hunting, and this is what this person was also doing. And he came across a company called Microsoft. Have you guys heard about this company?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, so Microsoft, right, is a well-known company. So he came across this company, and the company was offering a job for office boys, office boys who help throughout the office, whatever activity needs to be done. So he said, because he wanted a job and Microsoft was offering it a job, he went there and he said, okay, let me just go. So he was told to clean the office space provided, so he was told to show, when you're in your interview, you're told to do certain things, certain activities. Same way he was told to clean the office comfortably, and he did such an excellent job of cleaning the office that the hiring manager who was taking his interview, right, when he went around and saw how the work has been done, right, he was highly impressed. He said that, okay, we are ready to hire you. Okay. And then he said, okay, why don't you give me your email ID? Give me your email ID. I will immediately send you this job applications to be completed. You can submit your job application, and we will send you the offer letter, right, on the email, and done. You can start your work immediately. So for this jobless person, right, said, oh boy, I do not have an email ID. What do I do? So when he told that he does not have an email ID, the hiring manager, right, in turn replied, oh, what are you doing in this world? You know that anybody who does not have email does not exist. So you do not exist if you don't have an email. So get your email, and then probably you can come back to us. But as of now, we can't hire you if you do not have an email. So he was rejected, and for the next applicant to come, and he was told to right, create one and then we can decide. So the hiring got postponed. Now, so he's again back to square one of being jobless. So while he was doing that, he was like dejected, right? When you get rejected, you get dejected. So you actually see, like, okay, what do? I don't have anything in life. So you start thinking, you want to do things, you don't want to do things, you're right. It's like your battery is totally drained and you do not have anything to do. So what happened here? He was just like, all he had is right around $10. Right now, he did not know what to do with this $10. So what he was just looking around for anything. So then something stuck. So he went to a departmental store. Like you have something like a Big Bazaar or Walmart, right? One of the big departmental store. And, he thought like what to do, right? Either he could eat, right, buy something small, because departmental store usually have like higher discounts and then like usually have product at a cheaper rate. So he first thought, and then he went to a counter where fruits and vegetables were there, and he saw that an entire crate of tomatoes were available for $10. So he picked that crate and he was just moving, and then he thought, oh, what do I do with this? Should I have it or do something else? So then it stuck him that why should he not sell this and make some money out of it? So he went door to door knocking, and then, right, within a couple of hours, this $10 became $20 because he sold all the thing that year. So that stuck him and said, like, okay, he can do this. So then he started working hard on it. He went back again. Now instead of buying it for $10, he bought it for $20. And by the day ended, he had around $60 to $80 in his pocket. And he thought, like, why not he take it on daily basis to do different things? So he started collecting crates after crates after crates. He started expanding himself. And over a period of time, right, he established a brand for himself. Like he started selling tomatoes for loads, like truckloads of tomatoes come, go, right? He started owning that because it all started with one part of it. Now he had a family, he had right house, all those things that was required, office, house, everything that was required. He had everything, right, to take care of the tomato selling factory or workshop or whatever you want to call it. Correct. So he did that. And now he wanted to secure his family. When you have money, you want to invest or do things. So there were, right, a lot of people approaching him to, right, get the investment thing done. And so one fine day, one of the insurance guys comes up and meets him. And he says that, sir, right, why don't you take insurance? It will safeguard you, your business, your family, everybody. So he said, that's a great idea. Let's do it. Right. So they start discussing all and everything is fine. And then the insurance guy tells him, sir, can I have your email ID? Understanding? So he said, sir, can I have your email ID? So this gentleman said, no, I don't have an email ID. So the insurance salesperson was like, wow, You don't have an email ID and you build this empire. So imagine if you had an email ID, what all things you would be doing. So the guy, what do you think he would have replied? Anybody? Any idea what he would have replied? Yes, no?
No, sir. No, sir.
No? So he replied one simple thing. He thought over it and replied, yes, I know if I had an email, what I would have been. I would have been an office boy at Microsoft. So if he had an email, he would have got that job at Microsoft. Correct? Yes, no? And if he had that job at Microsoft, would he have built this empire?
No.
So what do you think should be the moral of this part of the story?
That you don't exist if you don't have an email. It's the simplest moral thing that can be concluded.
Yeah, so you can't think about that. Like you still have a lot of things to do apart from having an email ID, right? Even if you don't have an email, right, you still can do a lot of things, right? You can still become millionaires if you don't have an email.
That's true.
Correct. But that's only one part of the story. Now, this guy is, right, he got an opportunity. He worked on the opportunity, right, and he developed things. So email is not everything. Remember one thing, but it is still something. You know why it is still something? If you see the statistics, right, all of you who are going to work on data science projects that we have, right, understand this fact also, right? And all those people who are going to work as interns for social media platforms, understand this is a very important statistics, right? As an individual, right, the number of email users have been continuously increasing. So if you see, right, by today at 2021, there are more than 4,147 million users. So when you're talking about so many users, the world's population itself is only 7,914 millions. That means if you have to put it in crores, right, the world's population is 791 crores and the number of email users are 414 crores. So more than 50% of the world's population. If you consider that every single person is unique, then that is the, if you consider that every person, right, has at least 2 email IDs, at least 200 crores will have, right? That means 1/4 of the world's population has an email ID. So if that's the case, what is happening across the world, understand that, and what all things that you can achieve, right, if you use this tool properly. Okay. This is one of my favorite. Every minute that is happening on the internet, what is happening. And like we have discussed the same thing when we spoke about digital marketing previously, or when we spoke about data science. Again, now this time what we are going to do is we are going to focus on something called as the email users. So if you see, there are 19 crore emails which are sent, 197.6 million, right? So if you see 19 crores email being sent every 60 seconds. So that means there are like email coming in, going out. It's like anytime there is a reply also, it's considered as sent. So many emails being exchanged every minute. So this is one part of the story. The tomatoes is the other part of the story, right? What's happening? So the moral is there are some things that only tomatoes can do. It can still make you a millionaire, right? But for everything else, there is email and internet that you need to be, because today's trend is about using the internet for anything and everything. And email is one of the most important part of the internet, because that's where the exchange happens through the communication happens, simple terms, written communication. Understood? Yes,
Yes, sir.
no? Yes. So remember, tomatoes can still make you, right, millionaires, but how many people sell tomatoes? There would be people who would be coming to you and saying, oh, what are you doing all this, right? The guy, right, who sells samosas, or the guy who sells tomatoes somewhere, right? He's making more money than what you are making. But not everybody can sell some tomatoes, and not everybody is going to sell samosas, right? The guy who is selling samosas on the train, right? Every day he makes 3,000, 4,000 rupees. That's what people might say, or 10,000 rupees. But then, like, are you ready to go every day in the local train from end to end in Bombay and sell samosas? That's the question. So not everybody can do it. For rest of the people who don't want to sell tomatoes, or who are not comfortable selling samosas, right? Email and internet is the way to go. So the social media marketing and email marketing play a very important role. Collection of data plays a very important role, right? So for all this, you require email. So there's something called as Etiquette. Now, what is that? It's the etiquettes on the internet, right? Like we expect other drivers to observe the rules of the road. So when you're driving, right, or riding a bicycle, you observe, or riding a bike, right, motorcycle, anything, you are expected to observe the rules of the road, right? The same is the rule for when we are traveling through the cyberspace. How are we traveling through the cyberspace? You're using all the kind of applications, you're using emails, you're using chat systems, you're using all the different social medias, right, to communicate from yours to the others, receiving the communication from the other person to you. For all this, right, there are some basic rules and regulations that needs. And netiquette is about network etiquettes or internet etiquette. And it is the correct or acceptable way of communicating on the internet. Okay, so this is one part that you need. So overall, right, on the internet, it will be netiquette. And from this, there is one part which we are going to cover is about emails etiquettes. But then where do emails stand is the question. Because the generation next, that is the new generation, prefers instant messaging. So they will prefer you chatting on the Instagram, right? Or on WhatsApp or on any social media platform, or like a chat bot, which is there on your website, rather than sending an email. The previous generation would prefer somebody on the phone talking to them, right? Rather than sending that email. So neither actually prefer. The next one or the previous one prefer emails. But even then, right, 19 crore emails are being sent and received every single minute. So your dilemma is there. So people will still be preferring instant messaging. People will still be preferring, right, talking to you on the phone, right? But if you're able to communicate through your emails properly, it can fulfill both. You can email, call them, talk to them. You can email, chat, and confirm the receipt and all the communications are proper. So in combination of chat or calling, email will be much more effective also. So it will go to the right place, right time, the targeted person. So it has to be in combo as far as the etiquette part is concerned. So let's understand email etiquettes, because we need to have certain rules and regulations. So if you don't have rules and regulations, it will just be all over the place, right? So let's understand what is email etiquettes. It is a code of behavior that delineates expectation for your social behavior to the contemporary conventional norms that is within the cyberspace which you have. So the overall web, which we call, right? Within that, there are certain rules and regulations, right? And these rules and regulations may be written, it may not be written, but then there are things to follow, right? There are unwritten laws, there are written laws. But depending on which space you are, what you are doing, right, you need to have. So these rules and regulations that you need to follow, right, forms your email etiquettes. So you have to properly conduct yourself, and there has to be, for sending an email, right, when you send an email, right, you need to follow certain rules, because if you don't follow certain rules, you're not going to end up communicating what you have to communicate properly. And if you're not communicating properly, the person, right, will understand or he may not understand. And more likely so, he's not going to understand what you're trying to say, because you have not completely explained. It's like you have given only half knowledge. So etiquette or for the internet and for email is what consists of email etiquette. So email communication is very important. So let's start with the parts of the email. Right? Everybody understands, right? What is an email? Now, after talking so much, I'm asking you this question. Do you guys understand what is an email?
Yes, we
Yes, sir.
do.
Yes. Okay. So let's split the parts of the email and then understand each part, why it is important and what are the rules and regulations that you need to follow. The first part is the header. And the header section has 4 things. It will be from, to, date, and subject. So out of this 4, which one is important? Anybody?
Subject.
Subject.
Subject? Okay, so just for your information, all are important. When you talk about most important, it's the subject, as you guys told correctly. So let's start what needs to be there. So the from address, right? You guys are familiar, like, okay, you can have a drop down if you are using multiple emails. You might have a personal email, you might have a right company email, right? You might have multiple personal emails, right, that you need to handle. You might have to handle multiple company emails. You never know who is doing what, right? Or you are handling a company email which was used by somebody else previously, and then like you have to continue. So it is very important that when you send, you check that the from address is proper. It should not happen you're sending an email from a personal email ID onto a corporate site settings, which is not going to work. So this has whoever is going to send, when you're receiving, right, this plays a very important role, because you receive an email which says that, okay, you have $1 million, or you have 1 crore rupees. Click on the following link. You go, wow, let me click on the following link and see. You are in trouble. Because you did not check the from address. You may have $1 million, or you may have few crore rupees, but you did not check the from address. The from address says that, okay, it's like Federal Bank of United States, right, on the name part. But when you say email, it says 12345 at right randommail.com. But what you saw Federal Bank. Oh, Federal Bank is giving me the money. So let me click the link. That's a major mistake. So when you're sending, you need to send it from a proper email ID. But when you're receiving, you need to check the email ID properly from where it is coming even before right clicking any of the links or downloading any of the attachment. We'll come to that also. Right now, the header may be also a list of actual names of the sender, right? When the sender has recorded the information with email services. So for example, right, as I told you, right, 12345 at randommail.com can have a name, right, which says that Federal Bank of United States, or it might say Reserve Bank of India. Whatever name I want to put against my email, I can put it. Right? So that you need to check, right? You constantly when you receive different emails, right? Now, email receipts put more weight on who is the email is from. So like let's say I am receiving an email, right? Now, if I have to choose which email I have to open, which one I have to delete, or which I have to complain about, or what I have to send it to spam, or it automatically goes to spam, right? We decide on from this section, like, okay, from where it has come. Understood, everybody? Why the from part is important? Yes,
Yes,
no?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So remember that, check when you receive an email, check the from part. When you send the email, check the from part, whether it is proper or not. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now the next is to part. Now this indicates to whom the message is being sent, right? So original message may be sent to, right, multiple people. So like you can have, right, 50 email IDs in the to box, and all at the same click of the button, all these 50 emails will go. The same email will go to all these 50 people. Correct? So to whom the emails are being sent, this is where it is. Now, when you say to, you have to be very clear whether the email ID that you are sending is to the right targeted person, right? Because like you receive, right, random mail from randommail.com, they might also be receiving. So they will be also skeptical from where they are receiving the emails. So they will also check. And more likely, if you want your email to be read, you need to have your target audience very clear to whom you're sending, addressing the right person or the right team or right executive is very important. You can't send a holiday email, right? Okay, like you are working for a company, right? You say that, okay, I want holiday for the next 2 weeks, and send it to your wife's address or your husband's address or your brother's address. You're getting the point? So the to part is very important because it's like specifically targeted towards your audience, to whom you're stamped. So when you're talking stamp, automatic, it will have the time when send. It will either pick up the time from the system. It will pick up the time from the internet. It will show which time the email is being sent, what exact with the exact specification. Oh, we lost the connection. Can everybody see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Seems there was a connection loss. That's so. To continue, what we did, yeah. So let me just. So yeah. So from to, right, you need to actually see where, right, where you're sending the email, and when you're sending the email comes in the date section, right? It will give you specifically the time when the email has been sent, what time, what date, everything will be timestamped. So these timestamps are right there on the email servers that are established. So you don't have to worry much about the timestamp, but when you're sending is again very important. Email can be sent and it can be, earlier it used to be like both of them, the sender and the recipient, had to be online at the same time. Only then it all started with that. Now you can be offline, you can be online, the email is sent, and whenever you're online, you can always have your email set up. So that is one part of it. And coming to the most important part in the header is the subject. So the subject more than often decides the fate of your email. So it is whether it is going to be deleted, whether it is going to be sent to the spam, or it is going to be read, it is going to stay unread for all the time. The subject is the place which decides. This contains the topic of the message. And when no subject is included, right, it automatically is likely to go into the junk email. Right, so junk email, right, if you have a setting where automatically everything starts getting deleted, that's the place, right? So forget about getting it read, forget about even the person who is receiving it seeing the email. So if you don't want your email to land in the junk folder, right, junk folder is like your trash can. It just goes, right, and where you dump everything, right, everything that you want, you don't want, it does not matter, it just goes into the dump yard, right? Whether it is useful, whether it is not useful, it does not matter. So if you do not have a subject line, it is automatically going to end up in the junk mail. So talking in details about the subject line, the key word is KISS. You remember this? Keep it simple, stupid, from our tools of the trade?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that's the rule here, right? You need to tell yourself, if you don't keep your subject line simple, what you need to do? You need to tell yourself and say, keep it simple, stupid. Because you need to hit yourself to remind that you need to keep it simple. Now, in internet terms, you need to keep it at the same time short and sweet. So you're keeping it simple, you're keeping it short, you're keeping it sweet, so that it becomes easier for. You don't be flashy or pushy. That means you don't say, oh, this is the last day of the world, right? The world is going to end if you don't read this email. Don't do all those things, because that does not work, right? You should, when you write a subject, right, it has to be a well thought subject. Always remember, it has to be right, should be simply, clearly, and concisely describing the purpose of your email. This line is very important. Note it down. Please note it down. It should
हेलो
be simple.
हेलो
Yes.
नहीं अभी भी
Who
चल
is
रही,
it?
7 तक चलेगी.
Hello.
हाँ, तुम कहाँ पर घूम रहे हो?
Who is this?
लग तो नहीं रहा कहीं भी घूम रहे हो.
Okay. Okay, coming back, if you want to note it down, please note it down. If it is right, simple, it has to be. Your subject has to be simple, it has to be clear, and it has to be concise. When it comes to, so select the purpose of your email, and based on the purpose of your email, make your subject simple, clear, and concise. And then go ahead, right? And more importantly, you get straight to the point. All your subscribers or whoever is you are receiving your email, right, will immediately decide, like the way you blink your eyes and come, right? The recipient is going to decide whether to what to do with the email at that speed. So if your subject line is not simple, it's not clear and concise, it's not going to be read at all. Right? Same way, the recipient should be very clear on what is the email going to contain. So be clear with that, what is happening. Now, when you're crafting a subject line, there are some key elements that you need to know about. You remember grabber? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
So grabber, urgency, and fact benefit selling. From fact benefit selling, you see feature, advantage, and benefit. So these are the three things in combination in simple, right? It might be 2 words, 3 words, 5 words, right? Subject line, very short. It cannot be a lengthy, right? Subject line, right? So check that up, whether it has got grabber. Now, anybody who is watching this recording and who does not know what grabber, urgency, feature, advantage, and benefit are, please go on to the tools for selling idea videos. All this are explained in detail there. And to simply put it, a grabber is why we should use grabber on your subject line, to grab the attention. Okay, why it has to be urgency? So that you get response faster. And why it has to have a feature is because it has to be relevant to the person who is receiving the email. Why it has to be advantageous? Because it has to give value to the person. Your email should give value to that person. Same way, why it has to be having benefit? So that you can add emotions. And does anybody remember what is 80% of the sale?
It's you.
You. So the word you itself has so much of emotion attached to it, right? So just for you, or something like anything that relates to you, right? And the emotion is attached to that, right? The chances of your sale increasing, chances of the email being read. Now, there are two yous. One is you yourself, and the other person, other you is the you who is going to receive the email. So if you're attaching that personal emotion to it, it's definitely going to be read. And when you talk about benefit, you have to consider the you who is going to receive the email. How much beneficial is this email going to be for that you? Understood?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So the subject line continues. Now, that's one part of it, the most important. The other part, when you talk about header, we spoke about it. Now, the other options is like you can forward the email, you can reply to the only sender, or you can reply to all whoever is in the sender's list. Whether the sender has sent to you plus he has marked CC to 50 other people, BCC to another 50 people, when you reply all, it will go to the sender and the person CC. It will not touch the BCC part. We will come to that part. Attachments, right? Signature and body. Among all this, again, everything is important. And the most important part again will be what? Among all this, which do you think will be the most important part?
Body.
Body. Correct. So let's start with the others first. When you do a forward, it's like it allows you to forward it to somebody else who is not there on that email list. So you can pass on your email to a third party. And that third party, right, will receive the email as it is, which the way you have received. One option. Second option, when you forward, you are also you will be also be able to edit them. So if you want to just have one part of the email to be forwarded, you can always delete the other part of the email and then send it. So again, when you forward it, the two part is very important, to whom you are forwarding it. Don't forward all the random emails. It does not make sense. So when you're forwarding it, check the relevancy to that person and see what are things that needs to go, and accordingly you forward. Same way, when you receive a forwarded email, the subject line will have FW as the right prefix to your subject line. Same way, when it goes to reply, you can reply to the independent sender, and there are no reply emails also, so you can't send it to those emails where they don't receive the email at all. So you need to check. It will specify that no reply email is, you have received an email which does not receive an email. So it will say no reply. So check whether it is on no reply mode, how it is. Now, reply feature allows the recipient to respond to a message from the sender. And many email services allow the recipient to change the original message while replying. So same way, the way you forward, you can edit and forward. You can reply. When you reply, you can edit and reply. When you do reply all, right, it's going to go to everybody who is on the emails sender list. So everybody who has received the email originally will also receive the reply. Understood these three parts?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Continuing, CCC. CCC was originally called as the carbon copy. Okay, now this is a feature for sending an original message to the prime recipient or others who are going to be interested parties. So if you're going to send, for example, an email to a police station for a complaint, right? And you want to mark the chief minister's office because that complaint is so much relevant to both the police officer and the chief minister's office. Both are relevant. So you have to find out first, like whether they are relevant or not, and then send. You can't send that, okay, your pipe is leaking and you're sending it to a plumber and you're marking CC to chief minister's office. It's not relevant at all, right? Unless you know that this plumbing issue is a major one and it requires the attention of chief minister's office. So CC is to be used very carefully. Always remember that. Never ever mark CC when there is no relevance attached to it. Because emails, when it goes, it goes. It does not, right? It goes to anybody whom you're sending. It cannot be retrieved back unless like you are into that position of hacking a system, or at the background of the system, you can work on it. Otherwise, once the email is sent and received by the other person or downloaded by the other person, nothing can be done. So check for relevancies, right? Very importantly, BCCs is the feature that you need to understand for, right? It's also called as a blind carbon copy, right? Once you put the email ID on the BCC, nobody else on the other part can see it. Understood? People make one mistake. Sometimes what happens is they write an email. It is there on your sent folder, which says that, okay, you have done you have done carbon copy, that is CC, you have done BCC, because it is there in your. And what you do is you forward that sent email to somebody else. So when you're doing that, your BCC will also appear on that email unless you have consciously deleted that. So the purpose of your blind CCC will never be achieved. So you have to be very careful when you're forwarding. You have to be very careful when you're replying. You have to be very careful again when you're using CC. You have to be careful again when you're using BCC. Right? Now, CC and BCC are very similar. Right? But then BCC is more private, right, than CC. A lot of people, right, use BCC to send it to their own other email IDs, which they maintain for record purposes. You can do that also. But using it diligently is very important, right? But if you're working for a company and using BCC like this, right, you're more than likely to lose the job, because BCC is not a great idea anyways, right? Things are open. It needs to be. It was created so that to keep the conversation more private. The same way, right, there are certain spaces where you can use BCC, and there are a lot of spaces where you don't need to use BCC at all, because you're doing it behind somebody's back, kind of. So it's not a great idea. So, right, use it very diligently, and for both CC and BCC, the less it is used, the better. So a lot of times earlier, when people used to use BCC, what they used to do is this: they used to copy their own address as 2, right? And BCC was used to send bulk emails. Even now, a lot of people do that. When you send bulk emails, you use BCC. it's more than likely not going to reach the person, and more than likely it is not going to be opened at all. So be very clear when you use CC and BCC. Understood, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so please note it down. And then comes your attachment. Other files with a message, like you want to do an attachment of a document, right? Now, when you receive an attachment, you don't directly open it unless you know that the person whom you, right, you are expecting that person to send you an email attachment, only then. And before opening an attachment, always see the from address fully. randommail.com 12345, right, at gmail.com. Some random where you don't even know, right? The name and the email ID has no relevance at all. Don't open that attachment at all. A lot of hackers and spammers use the attachment to scan your systems or mobiles or wherever you're using your email. So there are a lot of exe files which are placed in your system permanently, right? Those are highly technical. Like someday when we discuss cyber security, we can talk about those part of attachment and all. But as of now, the best way about attachment is send only relevant attachments. Don't overload attachments when you're sending it. When you're receiving it, check the from part, from where the attachment is coming, only then open the attachment. Clear to everybody? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So continuing the part where the signature is, right? Now signature, as you can create the signature and keep it. Right, your signature is more like your, right, it is to save your time, that you don't type the same thing again and again. Your name, your designation, from, regards, right? It can be it can be right the bottommost from where the email is coming. So the address, from, and the signature. So address from is giving the synopsis of the email ID where it is coming from, and the signature part gives the, right, it can have the details, it can have, right, templates, it can have a lot of ways to create that signature. Some of the signatures have, right, logos of the company with the designation of the person, the address, the phone numbers, right, everything, right? You can save it and keep it, right? And at the end of the email, everything gets automatically attached from the signature column and send. So whether you're adding your business name, you're adding your phone numbers, everything can be there on the signature. If you go to the settings part and create, right, go to the signature section and just plug in what signature you want, it will automatically fill in the details when you send the signature. Clear so far? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Coming to the most important again, when it comes to the second part, is the body. Now this is the area where your message is entered, right? Before you type anything into a new message, answer these two very important questions. Why am I writing this? And what exact result do I want, right, out of this message to be? Okay, so be very clear, write this message part, right? What I want. The one is, right, what I want to write. The second is what is the result I want. And before you hit the send button, review and delete a few things. Any kind of negative comments, whether it is about management or anything that you know that it is going to be negative, it is not. Delete it. It's not necessary at all. Right? It's a written document. Remember that it's a written document. It may be evidence, it may not be evidence, all said and done. But anything you do negative that you don't want to mention it at all. Right? Criticism of other person's performance issues, other staff. These are the corporate etiquettes when it comes to emailing within the corporate lines. Same way when you're sending it on, right, your social media, adding it, think about it. If does it contain any kind of negative comments or any kind of criticism, right? Be very careful in framing them, right? The email part properly, and before you send the right, review, and delete all these part. Any information that is related to money part of it, right, which is not to the, relevant to the person, delete it. Any product or liabilities issues that can come out of it, delete them. Any kind of gossip that is not necessary, delete them. Any kind of humor or ambiguities, delete them. Not necessary at all. Clear, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So you should write the email, right? One, it has to be very easy to read. Make paragraphs, 7 or 8 lines maximum. Insert blank lines between the paragraphs. Use headlines, bullet, and numbers. And do not use all caps. All caps is like all caps. You know, you don't, that's shouting. Don't do that. Clear? So it's not necessary. Like you can properly, right, arrange. You can use anywhere for that matter. Even if you're texting to somebody, you're texting it with all caps, it's understood as, right, you're shouting. It's different when you're using all caps and saying that happy birthday to you, you're shouting anyways. So you're showing the shout. That's fine. When you're texting the other person, you're showing your excitement. But when you're writing emails, not necessary at all. So when you want to show you're shouting, only then, right, all caps are necessary. So don't use it all is not the right word, but use it diligently and only where, right, you know that the shouting is necessary. Otherwise, don't use it. And more important, if you are going to use more than 3 screens, right, even on the mobile or on, right, when somebody has to scroll down your email too far long, that email is, it's better to have an attachment than sending it. So 1 or 2 is more than enough for the email. Don't go too far deep into detailing. You can send in links, right? Now, if you're sending only links, your email is again going to land in spam. So don't send only links. Relevant links with detailed attached to it what the link is about. It's very important. If you're going to send attachment, right, send the attachment based on that. So people can read those attachment and see what it is. So it has to be, the body has to be, right, quickly read. It cannot have, right, the entire story. Read my story. You insert images, you do everything in the body and then do things. It's not going to be read. So be clear, right? For example, a lot of spam emails that comes to you, right? It's got the entire web page. It's got discounts and everything, right? All the images of all the products in the world, you can click and find out. But these are absolutely irrelevant and they have the least open rate. We'll talk about open rates and all in some time. Why email etiquettes is important? Email was once considered, right, a casual form of communication. But now it is the most preferred form because it's, right, when you talk about the corporate communication, it's in written format. So when it is in written format, right, you know that, okay, I have some kind of evidence. Verbally, anything can be said. But when it is, now the situation is like people believe more what is written than only the verbal format. But culturally, we used to do a lot of things which was only on verbal format. All the, right, storytelling, they all came through verbal format. But now the preference is more on the written format. Same way, when you talk about corporate communication, email is the one, right? Whatever you want to do, just email. That's what is told. So, and experts agree that your email behavior has the potential to either sabotage your reputation in the personal or professional format, right? Or, right, shoot up your likeliness. So if somebody has to like you a lot, right, email is the one. People who, if they like to read your emails, they would wait for your email and do it. Nowadays, we are interacting more and more in the written word all the time. And without immediate feedback from the reader, it is easy to be misunderstood. So remember that it is a formal correspondence and most important business tool when it comes to the workplace. The next part, why you need email etiquettes? The reason is very simple. For email etiquettes to be considered, right, and knowing good etiquettes can help you to do that. If you follow certain rules, certain regulations, it's absolutely going to be clear with what it is going to provide. Email makes the first impression in the same way that letters and the personal appearances do. And in case where only meetings are long distance, email is extremely important. Now, yeah, you have, right, Zooms where video recordings can happen, right, emails where, right, written communication is possible. So even after, right, you have the video communication, right, Zoom is, I mean, not, email is the part which needs to be there. So you need to have good email etiquettes, and that is very important. Clear so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So why do companies need email etiquettes? One, it gives you professionalism. Two, it gives efficiency, and it gives protection from liability. Now, how it does professionalism? Your proper email language is like a written document, right? So it gives, like, you are writing the email very professionally. So do that. Efficiency, right? If you're writing an email without any kind of filter, whether you've not done a lot of research on it, it's not going to work. If your grammatical mistakes are there, if the email does not have proper language, it has got all the random things, it can tarnish your image. So you have to be very careful. Read the thing, every subject line, every part of the body. Read, review. It's very important. Before you send your email, it's very important you do all those. A lot of times you copy, paste it, right? And when you paste it to somebody else. This is the mistake which happens with everybody. It's not with you only. But then, right, if you're careful about using these things, the mistakes will be less. For example, if I'm going to address, right, Neetu as Reshma, and the email which I was supposed to send to Reshma, I'm sending it to Neetu, or it was supposed to be the same email, but I had to change the name at least. You know, so I mean, these mistakes are bound to happen because you're continuously doing emails. On an average, there are like more than 120 emails in a day a corporate person receives and sends. So these are bound to happen. But be sure that this exchange things happens the least with errors. So efficiency and your liability, the company is protected with liability because of the liability, because there are written communications. So written evidences are there that this is what one person sent, this is what the other person is saying, and deriving out of it, whatever it is, it's the later stage. But then as of now, it takes care of things. Clear? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So final few parts. Mind your manners. Watch your tone. Be concise. You avoid texting and abbreviations. Use professional email addresses suggested. Not all the time Gmail IDs and Yahoo Mail IDs or Hotmail IDs work. Professional email IDs work a lot. Check that up, right? When you're sending professional emails, use professional email IDs. When you're sending in personal, send personal email, right? And there are hundreds of tools available to do your grammar correct and spelling mistake correct. If you don't know English properly, it does not matter, but then, right, don't, right, avoid learning any language for that matter. You want to send emails on different languages, do that, but like do it grammatically correct and don't make spelling mistakes. That is very important. And use the tools that are there. And when you use the tools, one important thing that you need to be aware of is the autofills. You know autofills? Anybody knows what is autofill?
Like autocorrect.
Correct. So autocorrect, autofill, right? So automatically you need to be, so before hitting the send button, you need to check it very clearly. All right, just to type fast is not the thing. It's knowing what you're sending is very important. And don't send attachment without permissions. And wherever it is not needed, don't send attachments. Right, because that's where your email etiquettes comes in the picture. So whatever we have discussed now, right? They have been put into 32 simple, right, and most important etiquettes. When there are hundreds of them, but when we did some kind of research from our end, we found these are 32 ones which play a very important role. I'll quickly go through it, right? If you want to note it down, right, you can always note it down or visit the recordings to check and note it down. It's or probably like just take the screenshots. You can do that and save it. So there would be like 32. The first 10, the first one out of this, so you have to be concise and to the point. Answer all questions and preempt further questions. So that means, right, you're answering questions and you're to keep the communication on, you are going to create the questions as well, right? Proper spelling, grammar, punctuation, very important. Don't be afraid of using tools. The tools are made to make your life easier, right? You don't know, use it. Every big company has these tools available on their section. So you can do that. Check it up, go ahead with things. Make it personal, very important, because when you make it personal, the communication is ongoing, right? Use templates for frequently used responses. There are templates that are available which you can use. Create one if you don't have one. How to create one? There is altogether a different right training programs, and these are all available online. You don't have to worry too much about it. And when you are supposed to answer, the faster you answer, the better, right? If you have received an email, ensure that within the next 24 hours or 48 hours max, the reply goes in. It's very important. Check that. Do not attach, right, unnecessary files. Proper structured layout is very important. Overuse high priority options. Don't do that. Everything is not ending today. Everything is not the last day of the sale. Everything is not, right? If you don't do this now, right, the world is going to end. Don't do that. Don't every time mention that it's high priority. It's like you need to receive it. So read it, right? Keep things starts flashing on the notification part, right? It's troublesome. So don't do all those. And as we discussed earlier, don't write in capitals. So these are the first 10 out of the 32. Right? Hope you have taken the screenshot. If the next is, right, do not leave your message thread, right? When you don't leave out your message thread. So there is like a chain of messages, like when it comes and goes, like when you exchange mails, there is a thread that is created, right? Don't break the thread because the sequencing will, right? Every email server has its own way of attaching the thread. So whenever you want to create a new thread, create a new email, but otherwise, right, don't make it too lengthy thread also. If it is going to be too lengthy thread, right, make a PDF print of all the thread, make the attachment and make it into the new email. Similarly, add disclaimers to your email. One of the safest and the best disclaimer is if you're going to use marketing, right, the unsubscribe button. If you want to unsubscribe from our email, please click here. That is, if you don't use that line, you are more likely to end up in spam. Okay, so that right? Read the email before sending. Don't overuse reply to all. Mailing, as I told, use a BCC field and do mail merge, right? When you're doing bulk mail, but then don't do it all the time. Take care with abbreviation and write emicon. So emojis, whatever you're using, right? Be very clear because emojis can be right dicey also. So check with that. Be careful with your formatting. Take care with the rich text or the HTML message because not everybody is going to be very clear with rich text and HTML. Not everybody has the system to go with the HTML format. The best way is always to keep it in the simple format, but rich HTML formats is for promotions and other template based setups. Check on that. And then you can do not forward the chain mails, chain letters. Do not request delivery and read receipts unless it is going to be like you're going to interview somebody and you want a confirmation that they are going to be available for that interview. Something like that. You don't request delivery and read receipts. And do not recall a message. You can recall the message, but then there is no way, right? Once the email is downloaded on the other side, even if you recall, it does not. So recall is something like when it reaches right within the server from your email to the other email, which is happening quite fast. But if you recall it, it's like when it goes halfway through and comes back. Right? It remains in your outbox. So all this part, check it up and then you can send it before sending. So hope you have taken the screenshot of this. And final part is do not copy a message or attachment without permission. Do not use email to discuss confidential information. Very important. Meaningful subject lines, like we discussed earlier. Use active instead of passive statements. Urgent and important, as we just spoke some time back, is not necessary all the time. Long sentences, just avoid it. Right? Full stops are always great. Right? Do not send or forward emails containing libelous, defamatory, offensive, racist, or obscene remarks. We are all good people, so let's be good. Right? We are not bothered of people who are not good. So just leave them aside. Right? Do not forward viruses, hoax, chain letters, not necessary at all. Keep your language gender neutral. Don't be biased to everybody. That's very important because that's where, right? If you're men, like you love men only, that's not a great idea. If you're men, you love women only, that's again not a great idea. Right? Your email language is showing that ego part of it, not a great idea at all. Right? So be gender neutral. Whomever you're treating them equally. Right? He's the recipient, he or she is the recipient of the email. You are the sender of the email. That's it. Sender and recipient. You don't have to worry about, right, what gender the other person is. It's like the only is whether that email is relevant to that person or not. Don't reply to the spam, very importantly, and use CC's field, CC, BCCs sparingly. That's very important, as we spoke earlier. Right? Clear? Anybody? Any questions so far? Any questions so far?
No, sir.
No? Okay. 4 types of emails. One is web-based email. So all your AOL, Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo Mail are all web-based emails. There are POP3 emails. POP3 emails are post office protocols. Now this is when you are setting up your mobiles and all, right? You have to either use POP3 or Imap. I'll come to that, all right, for setting up. So these are all like the temporary setups where it's more likely like a temporary server is provided for POP3 emails. Obviously for webmail emails, earlier how it was is, right, both of them, as I told earlier, the sender and the recipient, both of them had to be online at the same time. But now with webmail emails, whenever the email is sent, the person has to be online. Whenever the email will be received by the person on the email server, I mean the recipient server, but whenever this receiver is online, he can access, or she can access that email. The POP3 emails are basically like temporary setups on your phones and small devices where the email comes in and it can be deleted or on this server. The main server still will have all the emails. Similarly, the IMAP emails are like your Internet Message Access Protocol emails. It provides a feature to manage a mailbox from multiple devices. So same email can be accessed through. So when you're having an Outlook, it will ask you like you want to use multiple devices, you can use this. So IMAP email server provides access on different devices. So you can use your email. Like for example, you downloaded Gmail on your phone, right? IMAP is the one which provides you the same email on your web server also, same email on your POP3 server also. So when you're setting your emails on the phone, IMAP and the POP3 are the email, I mean, the IP addresses are asked, the addresses are asked. So you just plug in them and then, you can access it. So POP3 gives you a temporary server and IMAP gives you multiple devices server. That's how this tool is. And the API based server, that's like the messaging application programming interface, is the one which is used by Outlook. That's Microsoft Outlook to communicate to the Exchange servers. So there are multiple Exchange servers like Oxygen, Mail Server, Cairo Connect. So these are some technical servers. Like when you learn about the servers, this becomes very important. But otherwise, this is it allows all the vendors to support their products and access all their emails, all different emails into the same so like for example, even Gmail nowadays also has the the API based servers. So on the phone, it's like one of the Android applications that you had, or the Apple application that you have, or the iOS based system. What you do here is, in the same Outlook, you can have a Yahoo ID, you can have a Gmail ID, you can have a Hotmail. All this can be accessed in the same section. So that is possible because of the API based servers. So these are the 4 sections. Details you can, when you do the research and all, it will be provided. When you send email for marketing, open rates are very important. Open rates are like how many emails gets opened in simple terms. Now, a good email open rate meets the average of 20.94%. That means the result of your organization, however, will be depending on the health of your list. So what happens is your list has like every time like you keep on sending and then like your email never gets opened, your email ID gets blacklisted. So you won't have a good open rates at all. So be very careful when you send, whom you send, where you send, all those, to have a better email open rate. It's very important. Spam. So if you can take the screenshot of this, or probably like I can, let's say, let me just, this is the link, Control C. I'll put it in the chat. Go through this. It's one of the blogs which is really well written. Go through this, you will understand detail about spam. So just to give you a brief on what it is, right? It gives you the detail on how things can go into land and spam folders. Right. So whenever you send your email, how it ends in spam folders. What are the words that you should not be using? Right. Let me just take you through a couple. And before that, what causes email to go into spam? Because you are getting blacklisted. Like I told you earlier, if you don't include unsubscribe button on your email, it's more likely to end up in spam. Right? Poorly designed emails end up in spam. Right? A lot of things. Right? The words. So when you say as seen on TV, those email automatically land in spam. Why don't you buy this? And lands in spam, right? Why don't you buy direct? Clearance sale. So it's again things like that. So these are commerce based, personal. These are all words you need to be very careful about, right? What you use, what you don't use. It's not that like these words you don't use at all. You use it very diligently, right? Earnings, make so much money, right? Big money, all this, right? When you use dollar, cash, big bucks, all this when you're going to use, right, on your subject line. Remember, it's going to land in spam by default. So there are so many sales items. So you need to go through this. It's an exhaustive list. I know that. And they also provide you, right, a complete guide to email marketing. Go through that. It will give you the beginner's guide and it's a great read. So coming back to the final part, the benefits that we are covering, right? I mean, the benefits of email, not what we are covering. Email is, first, it is highly targeted. It's got, right, it's dynamic and it's got personalized content. So it's like if you focus that the person who is going to receive, it's a personalized section, it's great. You can create that personalized interaction while you're doing your emails. It's immediate. Once you send it, it's real time, it's received. So you can always confirm, like, okay, have you received the email? Can you check? So all those interactions, right? It's constantly. So if you saw that list, right, this particular list, right, this list has right? Earlier it used to be 50, then 60, and it right now, while this blog was created, it ended up to 394 small spam trigger words. But then with research, the spam trigger words keeps on getting added. So continuously there is test, there is refinement that is happening. So results are continuous, right? Optimum results comes through. That's the reason it is beneficial. It's measurable. So very clearly it shows, like when you send an email, how effective that email was, how many people saw it, how many people opened it, where it landed up. All this are there on the insights. So if you're doing data science, right, this measuring activity is one of the most important things. And that's how you design your algorithms for your emails not to land in spam. You do a lot of research, which emails are landing in spam, which are not landing in spam, how to avoid that, all those. Similarly, the reach is infinite. It's like we saw, right? 1/4 of the world at least has an email ID. So you can reach, right, this 1/4 of the world if you have the right tools and all, right, immediately, maybe real time. You never know. It depends on how fast is your server, right? How many people use your applications, what they do. Emails can be automated. How many people are downloading your application? For example, auto emails which run on income tax, right? So what happens? The income tax server crashes on the day of the final day because everybody is wanting to file tax only on the final day. So auto emails, when it crashes, auto email does not go. So you have to have a better server, right, to reach infinitely, to use. So the speed, a lot of things depends on the scalability, but then yes, as we go from, right, 3G to 4G to 5G, and then like God knows where, how many generations that you're going to lead to, this scalability will become much more easier and faster. Conversion rate. So the journey from the prospect to customer is faster. You send your email, they check it, they click on few buttons, right? They become your customer. So that's cost effective because sitting at one place, right? You're sending to 100 people at the same time. It saves you cost, time, and it's focused, and it has got high return on investment. So the cost is going to be low, but the returns are going to be high. Only when your email does not land in spam. So if you're following all these techniques, it would never fall in spam. Now today's session is not only focused on the marketing part of it, but any regular emailing that you do, because it's a very important tool. If you don't use it, right, it's like I give a knife which can, right, a sharp knife which can cut, right, vegetables properly, and the chef uses it to cook, right, is given to a child who does not know to use the knife. You can cut it and damage yourself, you can damage others. If you're going to give it to somebody who is intoxicated, it again can damage. So you have to be very careful when you're using. So these are the benefits. The structure is very simple. All the fields you have to focus, right? Your single most objective is like you have to have one message, and which you have to present it strong, clear, and direct manner. You don't have to have 10,000 messages at the same. No, just focus on one message. Write to the target. Not, you have to be very clear whom you're writing to, and that person has a clear understanding. Clear about it so far? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Hmm? And get to the point. Very important. Don't drag. Like you keep on writing long emails. Nobody's going to read it. It's more likely that they don't like to take it ahead at all. It will lead to dissatisfaction. And the most important part is email is, right, communication. So when you're talking about email marketing, it is again about relationship building. It comes back again to the most important tool of the trade, you. So all these things will work if you work on yourself. If you're good, everything else is going to be good. So work on yourself really hard, because if you work on yourself really hard, you will be able to set things up properly, right? You'll be able to build relationships. For example, like we are into teaching field. A student whom you are emailing, or a parents whom you are emailing, a parents of 8th standard student, till the time the child gets a job or creates a business of his own, we have everything that can be taken care of. And if you're going to send emails properly, they will continue to stay forever. And by the time they get all this, they will have a child who needs to be taken care of. So it's all about relationship building, right? So be very careful using it, use it properly, learn all the proper methods to write down the email, right? Work around it. It's going, because it's a form of communication, and more importantly, it's a written form of communication. So your sustainable relationships will keep on growing. Clear? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we are here to the end of the session, right? So last but not the least, never forget, emails are like diamonds forever, right? So once you send it, it's gone. Once they have received it, it can remain with them forever. So they have downloaded the email, they've kept it, it can be maintained forever. Okay, understood?
Yes.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Yes, no?
No questions for now.
No? Okay.
No, sir.
So thank you for being on this session today. And right, this couple of hours that we have spent today, if you're able to just go through, there are a lot of things that has been discussed today, and each thing, I mean, you may have to go through these videos again and again and again to understand different sections, right? Go through the videos. If you're watching the recording for the first time, right? Pause, note it down, because this session, which has been crubbed in 2 hours, right? It's usually for a 1 week long session, where when you do a boot camp and all, right, every part is focused, everything is done in detail, how the from address changes, how to address changes, when it comes, all this is very important. So don't worry about rewatching the video again and again, because like emails are forever, these videos are again going to be there, right? You can download and keep it, right? Or watch it online all the time, right? The more you watch it, the more you will learn. And the more questions you have, you can always get back to us on this. So once again, thank you for being a part of this session today. Any day you have any questions, anytime, do feel free to reach to us. And once again, thank you and have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.